My name is Michael Pedicin. I'm the leader of this project.
I've wanted to make a live recording for a long time. Performing in front of a live audience and to have that feedback and to see people's faces and feel and hear their responses is just a great experience. We play the music of my heroes, John Coltrane and Michael Brecker and Joey Calderazzo and some other great composers, Walt Weiskopf. We just played that music in our way, which was wonderful to do. And the people with whom I played it in this particular band, which has been together for a while, made it just a joy for me.
I've always gotten a big kick out of musicians. We may have seen each other the day before or a year ago, and there's always that physical embrace. You know, there's a great sense of love and admiration that goes into each of our hearts, I think, when we're together. Jim Ridl, I don't know that there's anyone else like Jim. He's just a consummate jazz artist. He has a sense of rhythmic entitlement, if I may, that is just so incredibly well executed all the time. Bob Shomo is a drummer who I really like and identify with musically. Andy Lalasis is just one of my favorite bass players ever, and he's a great addition musically as well as just a wonderfully supportive and fun guy to be around. Johnnie Valentino, the guitarist, prolific composer. He writes a lot of music all the time. I love the styling of his guitar playing as well, and he's been a very supportive musician and human being for me over quite a number of years. Producer by the name of Joe D'Onofrio, who is also Pat Martino's manager. My favorite engineer is John Mulhern, so he worked with us for the live recording and the studio mixing. I've been using the word connectedness from an African term called Ubuntu. And there's such a great connectedness that happens with musicians who are well suited. There's so much love and devotion that goes into the relationship that musicians have. And I think it's somewhat unlike any other art form in that sense, because jazz musicians create these improvised solos spontaneously.
My dad was a saxophonist, an alto saxophonist, and played very, very well. Perfect pitch, the whole thing, very talented guy. As a child, I watched him and idolized him and wanted to be like him. My dad played different kinds of music. He was not a jazz musician. Played more pop music. Even before I heard people like John Coltrane, I identified with my dad.
I remember the first time that I improvised. My dad would play every night in nightclubs. In those days, that's what he did. And I remember being in my room practicing when I heard my dad on his way down the steps. I actually played something that wasn't on the paper. And it was just this amazing, exhilarating experience for me. And I remember yelling, Dad, wait, I actually think I can improvise. Don't go to work yet. You have to hear this. It was the first time that I made music all by myself and it made sense.
Jazz for me is a phenomenon. The playing of jazz, I don't think it's something we fully understand, any of us. Musicians, neurologists, sociologists, psychologists. It's a process of spontaneous composition, and the skills necessary for that are many and vast. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that underlying this spontaneous improvising that we do lays a very thick breadth of structure. When we're hearing a chordal instrument, a piano, guitar, and the rhythm section, as soloists, we're fully aware of what they're doing, how they're doing it. They're also fully aware of how we're approaching the music in our unique way.
I grew up wanting to play the saxophone from pretty early childhood. I remember taking my alto saxophone to bed, and my mother saying, "Michael, you can't take your saxophone to bed. Suppose you move and you'll knock it off and you might damage it." But I wanted to be that attached that I didn't want to even sleep that night without my saxophone being close. Yeah, I am definitely in love with my saxophone, as I hope it is with me. We make beautiful music together, I hope.